The Waking Consciousness by Annie Besant, read by Dave Marsland of Cardiff Theosophical Society. The Waking Consciousness. The life of man is carried on day by day in the everyday world, when he is spoken of as awake. He is living actively in three bodies, those of thought, emotion and activity, or if you prefer another way of putting it, in a body composed of three distinct kinds of matter: physical, emotional or astral, and mental or earthy, watery and fiery. This is what may be called his clothing, he being the man himself. A person's ordinary body might have three kinds of clothing on it: a coat or shawl of wool, a linen shirt and a cotton dhoti. These would be removable from the body without changing the person inside them, and so with our man. He can slip out of his clothing and remain himself, but he can only be conscious of and affect each of the three worlds in which he is living all the time he is in waking consciousness, through that part of his matter clothing which is the same kind as the matter of the world affected. In this waking consciousness he is only aware of part of the physical world. We can sort out the various kinds of happenings with which we are familiar, more or less, and see them as natural, even when they are only rarely met with in our everyday experience. The waking consciousness is that which we all know in this everyday experience. We think, we desire, we act. We do not all know that in these familiar experiences we are using three different kinds of matter: mental, emotional, physical, any more than people know that they are using three different kinds of materials and organs of their physical bodies when they are thinking, desiring and acting. There is food before you, you are hungry and you take it. What is the process through which you have gone? Seeing the food and feeling hungry, you recognize the food, remembering that it satisfies hunger. That recognition and remembrance are mental, and they take place in the brain. The mental matter there, part of the interpenetrating mental body, vibrates and uses the astral matter as a bridge to set the etheric and nervous matter of the brain vibrating, and you recognize the food and remember its pleasant results on a former occasion. That remembrance stirs up desire and you want the food. That desire belongs to the astral matter in your clothing, or to your astral body, and that, through the etheric part of the physical body, sets the sympathetic nervous system and the glands vibrating, and your mouth waters. The desire stirs up activity, working through the muscles, and you stretch out your hand, take the food and put it in your mouth. Now, it is not in the least necessary that you should follow out these changes and the workings of the organs in your body. But if you want to understand, then you must have the patience to study and follow them, and then you will be able to answer questions instead of asking them. Why does a young baby slobber and cry when it is hungry and sees its mother or its bottle of food? Because the baby's consciousness recognizes food and remembers the pleasure it gave. The consciousness thinks through the baby's brain. The baby slobbers and cries. The consciousness desires through the baby's glands in mouth and eyes. If it is very young, it makes only vague movements of arms and legs. The consciousness has not yet gained control enough over the muscles to guide them and grasp. When the baby is older and more experienced, it will stretch its arms out and try to grasp the food. Later still, it will crawl or walk to it. All this is easy enough to understand if anyone cares to take a little trouble. This elementary working of consciousness through its new baby clothing is repeated over and over again and becomes largely automatic, and also more complicated as the clothing grows and becomes more responsive to consciousness. But the succession is always the same. At the very beginning there is only desire, a vague feeling of want followed by satisfaction. It is the reflection of a cosmic beginning. Desire first awoke in the eternal. But very soon is the normal succession established: thought, desire, act. and each works on its appropriate physical organ, brain, glands, muscles, the vibrations having been initiated in their appropriate kind of matter, mental, emotional or astral, physical. As we learn more, we shall probably find out more exact details as regards the special kind of matter within the broad name of physical, astral and mental, connected with the details of the workings of consciousness. We already know, for instance, that light, electricity, etc. are modes of motion in physical ether, that galvanic electricity is connected with brain activity in thought, and that must bring about chemical changes in the denser matter composing brain cells. But the broad outline above given is sufficient for our immediate purpose of understanding the general working of the waking consciousness, i.e. the consciousness working in the physical body. It will be seen that this waking consciousness is aware only of some of the results of its workings in dense physical matter, solid, liquid, gaseous. Its area is indeed very small, and modern psychology recognises the surrounding area as the subconscious, which appears in action but not in precedent thought or desire, so far as the waking consciousness is concerned. Theosophy distinguishes in this subconsciousness two elements, the subconscious and the superconscious. The subconscious includes all instincts and actions which are the results of past conscious happenings and which have dropped below the threshold of the waking consciousness as being useless and inappropriate under present conditions. Such may be illustrated by the turning round of a wild animal in the jungle to flatten out in tall grass a bed for comfortable sleeping, a deliberate action motivated by thought and desire. A dog revolves similarly on a carpet before he settles to sleep, a perfectly sensible proceeding where there is nothing to flatten out. A horse pricks his ears, pointing them forward better to catch sound from the front, or moving them casually to locate the direction of a sound. A man does not normally move the lobes of his ears. But the subconscious can be brought again into waking consciousness, attention, thought, and will, or desire, directed by a human being to the moving of the lobes of his ears, enable the waking consciousness to strengthen and regain control over the now obsolescent muscle which moved them. So also can be regained the power of suppressing breathing and the beating of the heart. A waste of thought and willpower, it seems to me. Subconscious also is the memory of cells, exercised in building and rebuilding, in repairing injuries, etc. This again can be controlled by willpower to effect swift curing of lesions. Miracles of healing are, in many cases, affected in this way by stimulating physical energies into swift and abnormal activity. Submerged memories, desires and activities of the past are by us allocated to the subconscious. By superconscious we mean the vast area of human consciousness to be brought into the waking consciousness gradually as man evolves. An important point arises here. Unstable equilibrium in the matter of the brain is of two kinds. There is the instability of irritation, excitement, hysteria, which leads to degeneration, i.e. is on the way to madness. There is the instability due to evolution, where the life is straining at its form and pressing on it a condition precedent to growth. That is genius. Great wits to madness near allied. They are often confused, but are as the poles asunder. One on the downward path that will lead the human being back into the animal, the subconscious. The other, the high water mark of human capacity, the crest of the wave of evolution, striving up to the superconscious and blazing the path along which the human race will follow.